Hello, everyone. お願いします。I'm going to read you Shokushu number 18 this evening, entitled Kudoshin. The mind seeking to clarify and practice the way of the universe is called Kudoshin, or the way-seeking mind. Animals are unable to know the universal mind, even if they are very clever. This is a privilege that only human beings possess. How fortunate are the people who manifest the way-seeking mind, because this is exact proof that they have discovered their true human nature. I read that because of something I will bring up later on this evening. I sent you out a question and an answer that I received and sent recently. And if you don't mind, I'd like to read it again just now. The question was, my teacher advised me against attending your Zoom classes. Do students ever have any business going against the advice of their teacher? And I should say that this woman has never missed a class. So that's good. My answer was, of course, we owe our allegiance to our teacher. However, there are boundaries with any teacher. Ultimately, each of us is responsible for our own development. Our teacher is not responsible for our development. We certainly owe it to our teacher to give our full attention when we're being taught by him or her. However, what we do in our own time is up to us. The proper etiquette is exactly what you followed in this case. In Aikido, we always must inform our teacher when we intend to go to a seminar or attend a class or a Zoom session with another teacher. But it is important to note that we are not asking permission to do so. We might want to ask permission in order to be more polite to our teacher, but it is certainly not required. Any student of mine who wants to attend any kind of training offered by another teacher is always very welcome to do so. I've never discouraged this, but I do always expect them to inform me first. And while I always send them with my blessing, I also ask them to give me a full report when they return. Then I'm sure that their explorations will enhance their practice in some way. So this is the proper procedure for the student and the appropriate response from the teacher. Anything less from either party indicates something is out of order in the relationship and should be noted and perhaps discussed openly with the teacher. I just might want to add, I've received a number of concerns since I sent this out from students and teachers. Students saying, oh my God, was that my teacher? Or teachers saying, oh my God, was that my student? And I'm happy to say that this is not a student or teacher from Key Society. So the teacher never learned what the etiquette might be. I don't know. I mean, to me, this etiquette is in any form of martial arts or spiritual training is the same. I mean, I certainly knew it before I started training Aikido, but maybe this person didn't know. And I might note that that teacher that said she wouldn't, what it was, she said, he advised her against. He has come to many of my seminars and we have a good time training together. So I don't know, maybe he felt that it was too deep for her. I don't know, or too deep, I don't know. Anyway, that's sort of forming what we're going to address tonight, basically student-teacher relationship, a little further into that. But why don't we do some keep reading first? Thank you very much. there was a famous theater director in Great Britain back in the 60s and 70s named Terence Gray. And when he got tired of being a theater director, he got very interested in Taoist philosophy. And he wrote a number of books under the pseudonym, maybe you've heard, Wei Wu Wei. So it's actually, his real name is Terence Gray. But for whatever reason, he used the name. And his famous, maybe his most famous quote that you might have heard goes something like this. Why are you unhappy? Everything you think and everything you do is about yourself, and there isn't one. Okay, so forgive me for thrusting that on you. It's not Aikido, but this is relative to what we're talking about tonight. You know, there's a big controversy in all these different schools, and always has been, about, is there a self? Is there no self? In fact, I even had to write an article for a publication that had many well-known teachers. I don't know why they picked me, because I'm not well-known, but some of the other ones were, who everyone was writing their sort of view of self or no self. And Toi Sensei had to deal with this, of course, because he's in the swim of things here. And so he elected to follow the Buddhist idea, which is that there is a small, unenlightened, and totally self-oriented kind of identity, which we could call the self. And then there is the way of being, which he called Rei Seishin, or universal mind, or universal self sometimes. So we're talking tonight about, the relationship between teacher and student, the whys and wherefores, and some of the etiquette is all designed to help us establish a working, effective relationship with not just other people in the dojo, but primarily with our teacher. And one time I asked Toi Sensei, well, you don't have a teacher anymore, so, well, what do you do? And he said, oh, I have a teacher. And I said, oh, I thought he was going to tell me, oh, Sensei. He said, no, my teacher is the universe. And at the time, this was maybe 35 years ago, and at the time I thought, well, that's a little bit, you know. But it's not. It's actually what we're all doing. Only we just don't recognize it, because we're thinking all of the time about ourselves, and all the time doing things that have to do with ourselves. And it's not the point. You can say, and there isn't one, like Wei Wu Wei said, but maybe it's not the point ultimately. So when we have a teacher, the teacher is following the way. The teacher is being, the way has opened to the teacher, let's say. At least this is presumably needs to be the case if you have a teacher. And in the beginning, maybe as a student, we don't know how to follow the way. So we find a teacher. And the teacher is following the way. So we follow the teacher. And sort of the ultimate of this is we call otomo. Otomo. So the student establishes a really intimate and close relationship with the teacher and follows the teacher. Now, when you hear about all the stories about Otomo, probably you mostly just hear the bad stories. You just hear the stories of what idiots we've all been when we've been practicing Otomo. And because those have humor and there's some self-deprecation involved. So that's fine, but it's not all like that. Actually, and some of you, I'm sure, have experienced this yourself. When we're following the teacher, if we really forget about ourselves and are just engaged in following the one who is following the follower, it can be an experience of maybe for the first time being in the zone, being completely, how do we say this, blockage free. In other words, it's not that you're suddenly perfect, and it's not even that the teacher is perfect, but when we're in the zone, when we're following the way, when we've given up our self-obsessions just for a little while, then there's always a parking place. The right food comes, it's always delicious. The wine is always good. The sensei's clothes are always there. He's always dressed on time. Your hakama always comes to you just when you need it. The weapons are taken care of. Everything moves along moment to moment to moment, very smoothly. And of course, the picture I'm sort of painting there is that the obstacles kind of go away. They don't actually go away. It's just they're not obstacles anymore. Whatever arises is what is arising. When you're in the zone, everything is perfect. Everything is the way it needs to be. That's the value of being with the teacher. Now, if you know, there's, I want to say this. Of course, when I'm teaching a class like this, we have beginners and we have very advanced people. And everybody, everything in between. So when I'm teaching, some people are listening carefully and some people are reading a book, I guess, looking away, doing something else. So not listening, not paying attention, not clearly what I said, the way-seeking mind, Kyudoshin. And that's fine. As my wife has often told me, what do you expect? That's the way it is. So, and that's what I'm trying to express about this business of being, following the way. Following the way is kind of difficult to explain about because it's not making everything perfect just the way you want it. So when we talk about this business of etiquette and what the student should be informing you of, well, a lot of times they don't, or they forget, or they don't want to ask permission. That doesn't feel like they should have to do that. You know, they're still thinking that they're in charge of their life, you know, and that kind of thing. And so that's to be expected. So it's not like these kind of things are laying down the law. The way to be with the teacher is the way to be with the students. Following the way. And the way is huge. And so Doi Sensei says, each of us at the center of the universe. What I'm experiencing as the way unfolding for me, and what your experience as the way unfolding for you, maybe right at this moment, these two ways are coming quite close together. So that's what I'm talking about, following the follower. Okay. But then as we part, then the trick, the practice is to continue following the way. And then you see, oh, I don't really need the teacher. I'm doing this anyway, all the time. Because sooner or later, the teacher's going to go away anyway. So the sooner you begin to practice following the way, is what I'm calling tonight, following the way, basically keep one point, the better. So there are these four principles that I like to talk about. And I've repeated them to you before, and this is not, I didn't make them up. You know, they're old. The first thing is you have to open your heart, always, to whatever, teacher or no teacher. You want to follow the way, you have to open your heart. And then once, I'm sorry, you have to show up. I forgot, you got to show up first. The second thing is you have to open your heart. And then third thing is you have to follow along, which means paying attention, which means being in meditation at every moment. Show up, be present, open your heart, follow along with what's happening, and accept the results without going, yeah, I like that, but I don't quite agree with that. No. Who says that? Who in you says that? So someone who is not following the way. Okay, so that's a kind of a, some of you might feel, particularly maybe, well, some of you might feel that that's a little bit difficult, troublesome, worrisome, a little bit uncomfortable when I talk about it like that. But this is my experience with both Toi Sensei and Suzuki Sensei, but also my experience with my life, with my wife and my family and my students and my work. You know, I'm far from perfect, but when I'm in this position of being the teacher, then I want to share, just the way Toi Sensei, I'm sure did, I want to share what I'm experiencing with you. And you can take it or leave it, of course. If you don't like it, you don't have to. Don't believe it in any way. You need to experience this for yourself. But I'm just suggesting that the way the avenue that is traditional is through a teacher. Of course, it can happen and has happened to certain people without a teacher. Maybe you know some of them, some famous people. But generally speaking, for the other 99.9% of us, it really helps to have a teacher, a follower that we can follow. So do you see the way that goes? I'm really, so I'm very interested. I'm very interested tonight to hear what you have to say about that. And one other thing is, I'm sure you've noticed that over the past several weeks, we've had some heavy subjects, some direct and to the point subjects. And those are very important. And I've had a lot of really positive feedback from many people, which is very nice. I'm grateful for that. Thank you. And so that encourages me. Look out, because those positive things you write encourage me to take this further. I hope you like that. Okay, so I would like to hear from one of you, several of you. Please speak up. Rene Relacion.
Hi, good evening, Sensei.
Good evening.
this entails from the student as well as the teacher a lot of trust. And what I imagine in time becomes a love in many various ways. A trust in the teacher and a trust in yourself, especially when you're not with the teacher. In other words, sometimes it involves a leap of faith, I suppose, but you're guided by certain principles. I guess what I'm saying is that this is, it's, as you said, it's full, it's rich, and that experience that a teacher wants to share with the student is so valuable. But also there are some that are not so well-intentioned, I suppose, or could mislead your trust. I suppose the world is full of people who gain the trust of some people, and either you find out and no longer follow the person, or you continue. But it requires a certain insight, self-awareness, I suppose, and connection. Could you speak to that, Sensei?
You know, every teacher is not having this experience and is maybe a little bit maybe sincere and doing a good job, but like that teacher that said, "Oh, I don't think you should go train with Curtis in the Zoom class." Maybe he's a little bit afraid of losing a student, you know, and this is not really appropriate position for a teacher, but it happens pretty universally. That's why we have this practice because in Key society, we all want to get along and we all want to respect the other teachers. And I don't ever know when some other teacher might be feeling, you know, offended. And so I ask and I instruct and we do our best. And if you tell me you want to go train with somebody, that gives me a chance to write the person and say, you know, to be even more polite to him and say, "Oh, this person from my dojo or my school is going to come and train with you. Please take care of him." And then everybody, then we don't have to worry so much about that aspect of it. But in terms of, so there's a kind of a double-edged sword here, because if you're a student, if you're a non-practicer, but you're interested in practicing, and you're shopping around, which happens a lot, for a teacher, how is it that you know when you get one? How on earth would you know? Because the students that write me about their teachers, the things they're objecting to are completely beside the point quite often. In other words, when you don't worry about the other person taking advantage of you because you're following the universe through that person, you're not following that person. So don't think of it as giving I said in the beginning of this, oh yes, we owe our allegiance to the teacher, but we really owe our allegiance to the universe, the source of our life. And through the teaching, we practice that allegiance. And let's face it, if you can't even give your allegiance to a teacher, don't be kidding yourself about giving your allegiance to the universe. It takes a lot of practice. And that business of showing up, opening our hearts, following the way, and accepting the result of that, that is, it so beautifully expresses our practice in terms of the teacher leading the student who's following and the student following the teacher. In both cases, they're following. You know, O Sensei made the point over and over again that you can never be Nage until you've mastered Uke. You can never lead others until you understand what following means. And that's the problem with most beginners, most non-practicers who are interested in practicing just don't understand what following is because they've never done it. Not actually. They might have been led by somebody in some strange way, but the practice of following the way they haven't done, or they wouldn't be looking for a teacher if they were doing that. Okay, so that's important for us to remember as teachers and for us to remember as students.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you. Okay, someone else.
So Sensei, Prakash.
Yes, Prakash.
So mea culpa. I was the one who recommended to my student, Dr. Nini Pretorius, that you would be able to answer that question, whether there was a self or no self. And then she contacted you. So just to remind you.
Yes, I knew. Just believe me, I didn't forget it. And that's why, even though I'm not well known, I was selected to do that. And I was very grateful because it was really a good experience for me. Because, you know, it's like, well, I was thrown on the hot griddle and I had to come up with the goods. And I had a certain amount of time to do it, and so many words had to be written, and it had to be fairly extensive. And so, thank you very much. It was good. It was a good key test for me. Thank you. Okay, someone else. Crystal, you have a lot of experience with teachers.
So I have problems with my unmute with my mouse. So I joined the class with Tracy Wiesener Sensei, and we once discussed this. And yes, you talk about the experience that the universe supports you if you follow the teachings of the universe or follow your teacher. And sometimes I have this experience that that the things are going fine, and I have the feeling that the universe supports me, and there's always a opportunity or how should I talk that? A chance, or even if the situation is not or is difficult, but you I can feel this support. You have a possibility to go further, and sometimes if you follow the universe, you get struggled, you get your ego, and to follow. And my experience with you, Sensei, is that you really listen to the problems, and that you follow the way of the universe, and it's egoless, and I have much trust in you. But I think I always, because I have teachers that don't follow the way at some time, I think it's important to check it. But if you feel it's really the way and the teacher is following the way, it's a way of trust. I think if I checked it once, I have really trust in the teacher and in the teachings. Yes.
It's a shame to be living a life, to me, without following the way, without following the universe. None of us is very good at it, actually. Do you know? Not only I say, you know, I'm not perfect. Not only am I not perfect, I'm not very good at it. It's very, very challenging. But you open your heart. And then it doesn't matter how skilled you are, because it's not about that. So that's important about that, because that's what following means. It doesn't mean setting yourself up as the expert, the one who has all the answers or knows the way or never trips and falls or never says the wrong thing. No, 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 not at all. That's not following the way. That's just kind of being a jerk. The way is to be genuine and vulnerable and raw right there in front of everybody. All right, so thank you.
Yes, Sensei. What you talk about today is a very important topic for me. And I view myself as a teacher for my students as kind of a intermediary kind of thing. So I always encourage people, to the point that it might be annoying for some, to go to seminars with you and to come to Japan and expose themselves to the source of the teaching, and don't settle for the easy way, which for some is hard enough, to come to the dojo a couple of days a week. But I get the feeling some settle for this because it's quite convenient, and they don't want to go the extra mile to travel to seminars or even to Japan, and they don't see why, because well, I have you, so why should I? You teach the way also, right? Yes, I do, but you get a more deep, in my experience, you get a much deeper experience when you go to Curtis Sensei's seminar, and this might inspire you on your path, and it might even improve our relationship if you understand more about the path, you know, and you get deeper into it. So that is my 2 cents here.
Okay, thank you. What else? Odd Vogel Sensei, hello. Can you unmute? Ah.
Yes, I did. Yes.
Yes,
You hear me?
I do.
Ah. Well, I want to tell you, when I was just became a teacher, I was very convinced of myself, and I thought people should follow me because I knew how they should behave and how they should live. And then I met you, and then there were some doubts. So I say to my students, come walk with me and we follow Curtis Sensei because he knows. And now I'm getting older, and then I know there's so much to learn, and I know so less, that I tell them, don't follow me, but just hear what I am studying, and I will tell you what's on my mind, but please don't follow me, because I really don't know. That's it, Sensei.
You know that lately I've been saying a few more times, I mean, I know you heard me say it years ago, there's only one point. And that almost when I say it, it almost sounds like I'm making it, you know, like that's a clever thing to say. No, that's not a clever thing to say. That's only seeing that we're all together as one. There is only one to speak to. And you speak that the one point in the lower abdomen is the transition point between the surface and, let's say, what's behind the surface. And when you're with your teacher, you need to have the surface, the form. You need to be able to follow the simple instructions, but you also have to be given the opportunity to dive through to what is beneath. And you and I aren't in charge of that. We just open ourselves by practicing showing up every time, opening our heart every time, following the way every time, and accepting the result of what is being given to us. You know, every time I say that, it feels like I need to say it more often. Well, or I want you to say it. I want you to be thinking about this, about how to be with me, how to be with each other. Following the way is all we're ever doing. What this moment to moment to moment that is evolving and flowing and what you know, rolling away in front of us at every moment, this is the way. The way isn't some idea somewhere, some Chinese philosophy or some Japanese thing, or no, it's this moment, it's Genjo, it's immediately this. And so that's why those 4 principles of practice are so important, because that's how we deal with this on and on and on and on. And, you know, we come to different levels of realization about ourselves as a teacher, but we also are just required to follow as a teacher. You know, that's why when I come into, it's not that I never plan, you know, Sensei, I do have ideas about things I'd like to teach when I come to your place to teach a seminar. But when I come out and I look at the students, always it changes. Maybe you have the same experience, because the students are the ones that represent the way right then, not me. For me, you sitting here looking at me, you represent the way to me. Do you see what I mean? Not that you are the way, but it's you, and all of this is the way. I think this is enough. We've come to the end of the time. I'm so sorry about the microphone business. Everybody has been commenting to me about that, so I guess you can't hear me so well. Also, maybe my voice is not so good, and maybe I need to get a little microphone. I'll see if I can do something like that. And Bluetooth, can I do that? And then maybe my sound will come to you better. I'll do my best. Thank you very much, everyone. Domo arigatou gozaimashita. I will see you soon.